Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are undertaking a really critical mission. We're charting the absolute split in our central characters' journeys across chapters 18 through 22.
It's a huge moment.
It is, because these few chapters, they just take our heroes, our kids from the Two Rivers, and force them onto these completely divergent high-stakes paths. It feels like this is where they really start to become who they're meant to be.
It's truly like a narrative split screen. And the contrast is it's astonishing. On one side, you've got Rand, Hurin, and Loyal, and they're deep in the shadow of Kinslayer's dagger.
Very ominous name.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
And they're chasing these artifacts that promise either, world-saving glory or this soul-rending corruption. And Rand himself is grappling with this terrifying forbidden power, and he's totally untethered from any kind of discipline.
And then on the other side of that split screen,
you have Egwene and Nynaeve, and they're walking right into the immense ancient authority of the White Tower. They are willingly submitting to the world's most rigorous, high-stakes discipline. They're basically trading their village innocence for this structured, incredibly demanding power.
Okay, let's unpack this and set the stage. Because when we last checked in, Rand's group had just come out of that bizarre, disorienting trip through the alternate worlds.
Yeah, that whole confusing journey from chapters 14 and 17 that left them just exhausted and, frankly, questioning reality itself.
Right, so now they're back, they're grounded, and they're intensely focused on one single goal: getting back the Horn of Valere, and maybe even more importantly, Mat's cursed ruby-hilted dagger.
The dagger is key.
It's everything. Padon Fane stole it, and it isn't just some political prize, it's literally Mat's life support. So that makes this whole chase feel so much more personal and desperate.
And you can see how that desperation is just fueling every choice Rand makes. Meanwhile, Egwene and Nynaeve, they've left Faldar. They're traveling fast toward Tar Valon.
Right, they went for training to get a handle on their abilities.
Exactly. They think the White Tower is the answer to this growing fear they have of the One Power. But what they're about to find out is that the Tower, it doesn't really offer freedom. It offers a very highly structured form of servitude, where the price of power is absolute obedience.
So one path heading toward untamed ambition, and the other toward this totally enforced order. What a contrast.
It's a spectacular divergence.
Let's start with Egwene and Nynaeve then, because I think we really need to understand the monumental shift they're about to go through. Their voyage takes them along the turbulent Erinin River on a ship called the River Queen.
Sounds quite adventurous.
It does, but the sources make it pretty clear that the physical journey is like the least of their worries.
Exactly right. That journey is really a metaphor for the unpredictable power they're trying to harness. But even on the river, Egwene just can't shake this growing sense of dread.
The dreams.
The dreams. The summary for chapter 19 is very clear that she's being plagued by these ominous dreams about Rand's safety. And this isn't just, simple worry. This is a burgeoning ability, maybe her first steps into dreamwalking.
So it's tying their fates together even as they're getting further and further apart physically?
It's an emotional tether. It reminds her, and us, that the stakes are still centered on the lives of the people she left behind. Her whole reason for being there, for seeking training, is at its core, so she can protect him.
And then the scale just changes completely. They finally arrive at Tar Valon, this legendary city built around the tower, the literal heart of civilization and power in their world. I mean, the awe and intimidation must have been overwhelming.
It's a masterpiece of psychological warfare, whether it's intentional or not. Tar Valon is a city of just paralyzing grandeur. Yet the sources point out that when they arrive, amidst all the chaos of the wharf, the girls feel momentarily overlooked.
That's fascinating. It has to be so important.
Think about that transition. They were the special girls from the Two Rivers. They were the center of attention in Faldara, with Aes Sedai and warders all focused on them. And now they're functionally invisible.
It's the first lesson the tower teaches, isn't it?
It is. You are not special yet. You are a potential tool in a vast, ancient machine.
And they are immediately introduced to the person who is going to enforce this new humility.
Yes, they encounter Sheriam, the mistress of novices. And Sheriam isn't just a teacher, she is the first filter, the one responsible for enforcing these famously strict rules. She's the embodiment of the tower's discipline.
The gateway.
The gateway, exactly. And she sets the pace immediately, slow, demanding, and completely unforgiving.
And this introduction, it just immediately shatters the foundation of their friendship by creating this devastating split in their status. They don't enter on equal footing, and that seems so key.
Absolutely. The tower system, while it recognizes talent, is brutally hierarchical. Egwene, despite having this clear, raw talent, starts as a novice.
And what does that actually mean to be a novice?
Well, the Q&A section confirms this path is specifically designed to test her resolve and commitment. It's a process built to break down her previous identity and mold her into a capable sister. It's designed to make sure that if she falters, she gets cast out before she can do any real damage. It's a grueling, multi-year process of challenges.
But Nynaeve, who is arguably the most powerful of the Two Rivers folk, she gets a fast track.
She does, and this is where that dynamic really shifts. Nynaeve is promoted directly to accepted because of her exceptional abilities.
Wow.
And the sources highlight how this rapid advancement just immediately changes the relationship between them. Nynaeve, who, struggles with all this insecurity under her bluster, is suddenly wearing the serpent ring. She has a status far above her closest friend, who's stuck on the ladder's first rung.
That creates so much tension. How do you maintain that simple loyalty from your village when the entire structure around you demands separation and deference?
It's intense. The pressure on Nynaeve to be a role model and on Egwene to, remain subordinate is just immense.
This whole thing sounds less like an education and more like psychological conditioning. And the ultimate figurehead of that is the Amyrlin's seat herself, Siuan Sanche.
Yes, and she delivers this profound, almost terrifying lesson on power management. This is probably the most important scene in this whole segment because it defines the entire philosophy of the Aes Sedai.
Which is not what you'd expect.
No. The Amyrlin's lesson isn't just about manners or rules. It's about survival in a world where the one power can destroy everything. She emphasizes discipline over raw ability. Raw ability is dangerous. Disciplined application is safe, and it's politically viable.
So what's the specific takeaway from her lecture? Because it sounds a bit like she's telling them to hide their gifts sometimes.
She is. That's exactly what she's doing. She explicitly emphasizes the necessity of knowing when to use your ability, as well as how and when it's better to do things the way any other woman would.
For political reasons.
Think about it from their perspective. The Aes Sedai have to project this unified, predictable strength to the outside world. If their sisters are running around using immense, unpredictable power for everything, they start to look like glorified thugs. Or worse, like the unstable, warring factions from the breaking of the world.
So the Amyrlin is teaching them that humility, that doing things the mundane way is often the highest form of strategic control.
Precisely. Using the power to light a lamp when a candle will do is a waste of resource, and, more importantly, a failure of control.
And this all leads to that shocking, visceral demonstration, and it's focused entirely on Nynaeve, the one with the biggest temper and the most raw power.
She's the perfect example of untamed ability.
It's a brutal and incredibly effective teaching moment. Nynaeve, the brand new accepted, the powerful wisdom from her village, is just cut off from the true source in front of everyone.
And the Q&A makes it clear this served two purposes. First, it showcased her vulnerability. Suddenly, the fiercest young woman in the room is completely helpless. And second, it forcefully reinforced the need for self-discipline, because her inability to control her temper led directly to that loss of control in her channeling.
So the Amyrlin is showing her, and everyone else, that if you let your emotions dictate your power, other people will exploit that weakness.
Exactly. Her immense strength is only accessible when she's in a state of, righteous anger or calm control. That inconsistency is the fatal flaw the tower intends to eradicate.
It's the ultimate warning, isn't it? The tower values a calm, steel-trap mind above all else. They are signaling that Nynaeve's famous temper isn't just a personality quirk, it's a massive security liability. And they're going to fix it, even if it breaks her spirit in the process.
And this is why that whole novice and accepted path is such a grind. For Egwene, the Q&A points out that despite all this daunting training ahead of her, she's still burdened by her uncertainty about Rand. Her motivations are still rooted in love and protection.
So, while Nynaeve is learning external discipline through humiliation, Egwene is focusing on internal growth, but still tied to that dangerous world outside the walls.
Yes, tied by those ominous dreams. The tower is trying to turn unpredictable power into predictable force, and these two women are caught right in the gears of that machine.
Which sets up the contrast perfectly. One side is entering intense servitude for controlled power.
And the other is about to embrace untamed power in the name of duty.
Which brings us swinging abruptly back to Rand, who is in a world totally devoid of the rules and discipline of the White Tower. If the women's story is about enforced discipline, Rand's is all about chosen defiance and reckless high-stakes risk.
Literally beneath the dagger.
That chapter title, Kinslayer's Dagger. It just carries so much historical weight, it immediately suggests bloodshed and doom. They're camped in a very dangerous, historically cursed place.
Yeah. Chapter 20 finds Rand, Hurin, Loyal, and of course Selene near that cold, moonlit geography, just waiting anxiously for Padan Fane's Darkfriends to make a move. It's a tense, uneasy holding pattern.
And Rand is just caught in this profound internal struggle.
He is. He's half asleep, he's restless, he's wearing the cloak of a lord, but he's desperately clinging to the soul of a shepherd.
That internal tug-of-war is the central dramatic engine here, isn't it? He's torn between this life of destiny, this glamorous, maybe self-serving path that Selene is offering,
and his enduring, nostalgic memory of Egwene, which represents this deep, almost painful longing for a simpler life. He wants the farm, but the world is offering him a throne.
And Selene is the ultimate tempter. She's the catalyst who refuses to let him just settle into simple duty.
She is. She's urging him not to let Ingtar and his men, the Shannarans who are also tracking them, be the ones to claim the horn. And why? Because she knows the power of the Horn of Valere, and she wants Rand to be the one who wields the glory it promises.
She is the direct counterpoint to the Emerald then. The Emerald teaches control, but Selene teaches ambition and destiny. She's telling him he has a right to claim greatness.
Exactly. The Emerald preaches responsible power. Selene tempts him directly with the promise of great glory that will come to the one who finds the Horn of Valere. This just ignites that ultimate inner conflict. His duty, which is to return the horn to Shinar, versus his personal glory, becoming this legendary figure who wields it.
And Rand is fundamentally a dutiful, selfless character.
Which is why her temptation is so effective. It's the one weakness he possesses, that fear that maybe, just maybe, he is meant for something greater, even if it destroys him.
And in this moment of weakness and overwhelming pressure, he finally acts decisively, without waiting for the authorities, driven by Selene's goading and Mat's desperate help.
He realizes he can't wait. Hurin, with his sniffer ability, spots a concealed fire. That confirms it. Fane and his entire group of Darkfriends and Trollocs are dangerously close, and they're settled. Rand knows this is their one chance.
Which leads to the incredibly tense, decisive moment of the theft. It's the highest stakes reconnaissance mission imaginable.
Rand, Loyal, and Hurin, they scout the area. He finds the sleeping enemies, he sees the artifacts just laid out, and summoning this enormous, desperate courage, and maybe finally giving in just a fraction to Selene's vision. He moves in.
He doesn't just grab the horn.
No, he takes the Horn of Valere and the cursed ruby-hilted dagger that is poisoning Mat. This single action moves him from being just a helper in the background to the primary focus of all of the Dark One's followers.
And the escape. That's where his forbidden power comes roaring back, tying his rash action to his internal curse.
Yeah, the narrow escape is aided by Loyal's immense strength, physically pushing them to safety. But for Rand, the real danger is that internal maelstrom. The summary highlights that he is wrestling intensely with the dangerous pull of set in, even in that moment of high adrenaline.
So the rush of power, the feeling of the void, it's all tangled up with the thrill and terror of what he's doing.
He's using this immense corrupting power to commit an act of desperate heroism. The tension is just unbearable.
He's committed now. As the source says, the Darkfriends aren't just going to disappear because he has the horn. He's crossed the Rubicon. He's gone from being hunted as a refugee to being the main target, possessing the two most important artifacts in the world.
His life just became infinitely more complicated and dangerous, and more consequential. His choice here is monumental. He bypassed Ingtar's official channel, rejected that whole idea of passive duty, and embraced a path of active, reckless responsibility. He's fundamentally aligned himself with the ambition Selene encourages, even if his motivation is still pure.
And the immediate aftermath shows that he's replaced one problem, being chased by enemies who had the artifacts, with a much, much bigger problem. Being chased by enemies who want the artifacts, while he's physically carrying these objects of immense danger and corruption himself. This is the burden of the treasures.
Absolutely. We have to look at the nature of these two artifacts, starting with that cursed ruby-hilted dagger. This dagger is essential for Mat's healing, but it is just deeply, deeply malevolent. And Rand understands the risk immediately.
How does the source describe the danger? I mean, we know it's not just a simple poison.
No, the dagger is saturated with the essence of Shadar Logoth's ancient evil, with Mashadar. It's not a physical poison. It's an active, soul-draining link to this primordial darkness.
So Rand insists they have to keep it for Mat, even though he knows its malevolent nature could harm all of them.
It's the ultimate expression of loyalty. He's risking cosmic corruption for his friend. He even suggests they keep it shielded, and he worries that looking at it may be as bad as touching it.
Wow. That implies the corruption is metaphysical, almost transmissible just through sight. He's literally carrying his best friend's life support in a terrifying, evil piece of jewelry. The emotional pressure must be crushing.
It is. And meanwhile, Selene cares only for the other prize, the Horn of Valere.
Right. Her excitement is a huge contrast to Rand's attitude.
She is overtly, almost fanatically, excited by the horn. It contrasts so sharply with Rand's singular resolve, which is to return it to Shinar. This difference really underscores his deep, persistent reluctance to embrace greatness. He stole the horn to deny the Darkfriends, not to claim the destiny she sees for him. He wants to offload this incredible responsibility.
But the burdens aren't just the two physical objects they stole. There's a new magical force pulling at Rand now, tying into his struggle with Sedin. This brings us to that astonishing discovery in Chapter 21, the Ter'angreal.
This is a moment of pure cosmic shock. While they're on the run, they stumble upon this massive recent excavation site, and they see this ominous spectacle. A giant stone hand, and cradled inside it, a glowing crystal sphere. Loyal, being an Auge, would immediately recognize this as an object of immense ancient power, a Ter'angreal.
We should pause here and just clarify for our listeners, what exactly is a Ter'angreal?
Okay, so a Ter'angreal is one of the types of objects of power that were created back in the Age of Legends. Specifically, it's an item that drastically amplifies a channeler's ability to draw on the one power. It exponentially increases their strength.
And they're rare and dangerous.
Incredibly rare and incredibly dangerous, because they let a channeler wield power far beyond their natural capacity. Sometimes enough power to reshape continents, or, in the case of men, to hasten their madness and destruction.
And this discovery immediately becomes the most terrifying test of Rand's control over the one power yet, because this object is meant for men.
Precisely. The sources describe how the crystal sphere, just sitting there glowing ominously, it pulls Rand toward it. The temptation is described as seductively intertwined with his connection to Sedin. This is his internal battlefield made external and amplified 1,000 times.
Because the male half of the power, Sedin, is tainted by the Dark One, so every time Rand channels, he risks going mad. And this thing promises him unlimited power, a shortcut to safety, but it accelerates the madness.
He is struggling internally with the void, hearing that intoxicating voice that promises dominion and security.
That's right, he hears that voice repeating. The power was his, the power was his.
This moment forces a stark, immediate choice. Does he yield to the immense temptation of instant, godlike power enough to blast away every Trolloc and Darkfriend in a mile? Or does he maintain that fragile, iron-fisted control he's established over his growing abilities?
This is where he has to confront the true terror of who he is. If he touches that Ter'angreal, he might win the battle, but he will certainly lose himself faster.
It's the ultimate hook. The power he fears is offering him exactly what he needs to protect himself and his friends, but at the highest cost imaginable.
So what happens? Does he succumb to it?
He struggles mightily, and it showcases this vulnerable yet growing ability he has to resist the most profound temptation you can imagine. He manages to break away just as danger approaches.
And that act of breaking away is crucial.
It is. It shows not just that he is the dragon reborn, but that he has the immense inner will, the personal discipline, ironically, to resist the siren song of Sedin. He refuses to be defined by these external power or control schemes. It aligns with that fierce declaration he made earlier, "I am what and who I am, and I am no Aes Sedai." He resists both the Amirlan's structured discipline and the Ter'angreal's untamed temptation.
So we leave this segment with Rand just staggering forward, weighed down by the Horn of Valere, which is world-saving hero potential, the cursed dagger, world-ending corruption potential, and having just shown he can resist world-breaking power. The scale of his responsibility has gone from village boy to cosmic burden bearer in just a few short chapters.
And following that massive high of the theft and the terror of the Ter'angreal, the momentum slows just a little bit. They arrive at the village of Cremancian, and their stay at the Nine Rings Inn offers a brief respite. But even in this little pause, Rand's identity is just irrevocably shifting around him.
This segment really serves to highlight that Rand's external appearance and his reputation are now preceding him, whether he likes it or not. The calm is superficial. It just highlights the enormous permanent changes he's going through. He tries to downplay their mission to the locals.
But he can't escape the public perception that his actions, and crucially his noble attire, have created. I mean, remember, he's traveling with an ogier and a sniffer, carrying a royal horn and a massively expensive, if cursed, dagger. He looks like someone important.
And the innkeeper, Mistress Madwyn, is the perfect example of this forced social change. She immediately gives him a title.
She refers to him instantly as My Lord Rand, noticing his noble attire. And Rand internally is still screaming, I'm just a shepherd, why won't anybody believe that?
Right.
But the pattern is weaving these titles around him. The world sees a lord, a player, a man of power, because of his circumstances and his actions, not his lineage.
And this disparity between the external title thrust on him and the internal simple identity he clings to is going to be central to his entire future arc, I imagine.
It is. He can resist the madness, but he can't resist the title.
And Tremonsin, this small village, serves as the place where the political reality of the next major city, Cairhien, is officially introduced. The infamous Great Game.
We get those critical foreshadowing mentions of the Great Game. The Game of Houses, which is called Daes Dammar, and we should probably define this. This isn't just normal political maneuvering.
It sounds way more intense.
It is. Daes Dammar is the formalized, high-stakes game of influence, espionage, and frequently lethal manipulation used by the Cairhien nobility. It involves subtle insults, calculated alliances, financial ruin, outright assassination, all cloaked in this intricate veil of court etiquette.
So Rand is heading into the equivalent of a grand, deadly chessboard where every word and every piece of clothing is a political move. The stakes are immense, and he has zero training in this.
He is completely unprepared. His mere presence, his new title, Lord Rand, his impressive escorts, the rumors of the Horn, it all makes him an irresistible target for political manipulation in a city where politics is literally a blood sport. He's already a crucial piece in the game, whether he understands the rules or not.
Okay, now let's turn to Selene. Her ambiguity is just intensified here, right when Rand needs clarity the most.
She's the enigmatic, unsettling counterpoint. She stays aloof during this respite, constantly close to Rand, pushing him on his feelings for the Horn, still trying to shape his ambition. She reminds him that a man who's forced is never completely his own master, insisting that he has to actively choose the path of greatness, the path she lays out for him.
She wants him to seize the initiative, not just fulfill a duty. And then, in a classic, abrupt mystery move, she leaves.
It's a very unnerving departure. She requests her own room, which is this momentary, curious separation that suggests some internal distress or a shift in her planning. And then she just leaves a cryptic note explaining her departure, which only adds to Rand's confusion and concern about her intentions.
But the truly chilling part is her final warning, and it's aimed squarely at Rand's new protective escort.
She insists she does not like Cull Devlin, the captain of the soldiers who is now escorting Rand's group toward Cairhien. Now, why would she, the woman who has pushed him toward glory and danger, suddenly flee a relatively safe area and leave Rand to travel with someone she explicitly distrusts? Is she running from Cull Devlin or from Rand's choices?
That warning immediately forces Rand to question the motives of his new allies. He is leaving the wild magic of Kinslayer's dagger, where the threats were Trollocs and Darkfriend,
and walking straight into the wild politics of Cairhien, where the threat is a handshake and a lie.
Her departure pushes him further toward confronting this political game all alone, having shed the constant guiding temptation she represented.
The segment closes with Rand resolving to continue the journey with Hurin and Loyal, now under the dubious protection of Captain Cull Devlin's soldiers, heading into the most politically charged city in the world, carrying world-changing cargo, and dealing with the mystery of Selene's ambiguous warning. The irony is just magnificent. He managed to resist the terrifying power of the Ter'angreal, but he has no defense against political maneuvering.
As we wrap this comprehensive deep dive, the paths of our characters are just totally distinct, yet their struggles are fundamentally linked by the burden of power and this intense pressure of self-control. Egwene and Nynaeve are now deep inside the White Tower machine, forced to confront authority and master internal control. They're realizing that discipline is the painful, hard-won foundation of true strength.
And Rand is utterly exposed. He's an accidental lord carrying the weight of the world, the Horn of Valere, and Mat's cursed dagger heading straight toward the labyrinthine political traps of Cairhien. His external mission is compounded by that devastating internal struggle. Controlling Sedan, resisting madness, and wrestling with the unwanted identity the world keeps imposing on him. Lord Rand.
Yeah, the sources make Rand's dual burdens so clear. He is now simultaneously carrying objects of world-changing power and world-ending corruption. He's a shepherd who has been physically elevated to this political and cosmic figure, completely stripped of his simpler past.
And this brings us right back to Celene's highly ambiguous and, I think, calculated departure. Rand is now forced to accept his role as Lord Rand to navigate the political maze of Carrion. He has no choice but to play the game.
So did Selene leave him to force him to choose his destiny and claim greatness without her direct, maybe corrupting influence?
Or did she abandon him because she sensed he would reject the ambition she desired, that he would prioritize duty and try to return the horn to Shaynar, and she fled before that choice was made?
It raises a powerful question about agency versus fate, doesn't it? The wheel weaves as the wheel wills, but these characters are desperately trying to grab hold of the threads themselves.
And the political game is about to test whether Rand's inherent goodness can survive when he is surrounded by people who only see him as a prize to be won.
Think about what that suggests. Sometimes the greatest obstacle to becoming a true leader is the person who wants to help you achieve power. That's something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.